disciplined for how they handled the allegations with a fellow officer. WSU is now looking at those allegations of sexual misconduct on the Pullman campus.
Well, the investigation centers around a campus police sergeant. Peter Choi breaks down those allegations and how the university is moving forward ahead of the new school year.
A WSU police officer is now being accused of inappropriate behavior on this Pullman campus. The allegation is a concern as the fall semester approaches.
What they failed to do is they did not notify Human Resource Services, and that is their requirement.
According to WSU, back in late 2020, the command staff got a report accusing Sergeant Matt Kurd of sexual activities on campus while on duty. It happened in the presidential suite at Martin Stadium and the WSU Observatory. Campus officials say 3 members of the command staff failed to report it.
As leaders, they were required to let Human Resources know of this alleged complaint or this alleged behavior.
The university said Tuesday Police Chief Bill Gardner, Assistant Chief Steve Hansen, and Captain Mike Larson are now retiring.
All chose to retire rather than face pending disciplinary actions.
Former police chief was accused and cleared of sexual assault. Now the city administrator is out, even though he says he did nothing wrong. Graham 2's Shannon Mowdy is digging into his sudden departure. And Shannon, you've now learned the city administrator says the city isn't being honest?
Well, Pullman leaders say that city administrator Mike Urban quit, but Urban's attorney tells me that is a lie. And they say that this all stems from a criminal investigation that didn't even begin with Urban.
A tale of two stories is taking off in Pullman. City Administrator Mike Urban is out, but why? Depends on who you ask.
We were looking forward to having him back, and he has chosen to resign.
The city says he quit Monday, but Urban's attorney, Alexandria Drake, says he was fired. In an emailed statement, Drake says the city violated Urban's contract and the law and damaged his reputation by investigating him. It all stems from a criminal investigation into someone else.
I feel like I'm reading texts between teenagers.
That's a Whitman County judge handing down a February decision in a case against Pullman Police Chief Jake Opgenorth. An ex-girlfriend had accused Opgenorth of rape and domestic violence, saying text messages proved it. The judge later found no proof it ever happened and found the ex lied by deleting some texts. Washington State Patrol was looking into the rape allegations and said 3 of the thousands of messages were from Urban.
The former police chief had used Mike's name to hide the other party's name in his phone.
WSP and Pullman's own investigation cleared Urban within 2 weeks.
There was no wrongdoing.
But Urban's attorney says too late. Drake says he could have been immediately exonerated with a simple phone call.
It was Drake, and that means there likely weren't many people around when this incident happened, but Pullman police actually believe that could help them in their investigation. Pullman police and fire say they got a call about someone being shot at 3 a.m. early Thursday morning on California Street. The 28-year-old victim was taken to the hospital in Pullman and is still in critical condition. Police are still searching the scene of the crime, which is tucked in between 2 Greek houses near WSU's campus. Police are looking for any surveillance footage that could help the investigation.
We ask that anyone who has any video surveillance cameras in the area, please contact the Pullman Police Department. We would definitely like to get that information and any video evidence that you have available.
Pullman police believe the shooting is an isolated incident and there is no threat to the public.
Just after 12:30 a.m., WSU Police Chief Gary Jenkins told Mirror News 8 the male was college-aged and was found outside south of the dorm's towers. Police say there's no active threat to the community. The report was called in as a potential suicide. This has not been confirmed by authorities as they are working with the Whitman County Coroner's Office to find the cause of death and to identify the body.
And on the corner is the Washington State University sign. On my left here is the Stevenson complex. Now, we were told this morning that the body found was right over here on the fence line, tree line between the Stevenson complex and Stadium Way. Now, we have not received any updates as of this morning's press release, but we will keep you informed tomorrow at our noon podcast or show at noon tomorrow, sending it back to the Smithsonian area.
their actions that obviously lead to someone's death. But we also don't want to discourage people in the future from calling when someone needs medical assistance as a result of drug or alcohol overdose.
At the start of each school year, police emphasize the Good Samaritan law to new students. They want them to call, but they don't want that feeling to go away if they pursue charges on the person who provided alcohol in a student's death.
Because we want to encourage people to call and not have to worry about being prosecuted for a possession of drugs or alcohol.
From Pullman, a woman and man recovering from stab wounds tonight. Police say the two were attacked this morning in their apartment. When police arrived, the suspect was armed with a knife. Allison Martinez is in studio tonight with the details. Allison.
Police say that that woman was in the middle of attacking her second victim when they got to the apartment. Police say 29-year-old Tiffany Dennison was a guest of the two victims. The apartment just 2 minutes from the WSU campus. The male victim was transported to Pullman Regional Hospital with critical injuries, but is expected to survive. The female victim was also transported for non-life-threatening injuries. It is unconfirmed if these victims are WSU students. The suspect is currently booked into the Whitman County Jail. Allison.
Pullman PD responded to a call of an intruder 2 weeks ago, and we are just now finding out more. Our reporter Aspen has the details.
I'm here on the corner of Ash Street, where on October 10th, Pullman PD received a call from a woman just after 3:30 a.m. with an interesting and concerning complaint. Pullman PD Operations Officer Jake Opgenorth tells us more now.
A woman reported that she woke up seeing a man standing over her, holding a knife and wearing a burgundy ski mask. She kicked out at him and was able to kick him back, at which point he fled.
Now, this is an ongoing case. Opgenorth said detectives were able to get a warrant to search a possible subject's home. No evidence was found.
Students at Washington State University were watching their backs. Someone was breaking into homes and raping women. It's been a mystery that's puzzled detectives until now.
Decades, Pullman police detectives had a sketch of a face, but not the name of a man who broke into several homes and sexually assaulted female students. This morning, police say they put that man in handcuffs. 47-year-old Kenneth Downing was arrested at a construction site in North Spokane.
Very exciting for us to finally bring our victims closure. It's been a long time coming and something that our victims needed and deserved.
Pullman Police Sergeant Aaron Brashears has been with the department for 23 years and responded to one of those sexual assault cases. Aside from this sketch, detectives also had DNA evidence collected from the crime scenes. What they didn't have was a match.
It always comes back up and you wonder, where is this person?
Police say they finally had an answer after plugging that DNA into a genealogical database containing millions of samples sent in by people curious to find out about their heritage and family tree.
It is a very valuable tool, especially for these types of cold cases. The forensic genetic genealogy gives us the tool to identify the suspect's, his family tree or her family tree.
Police believe Downing or a relative provided their DNA into a genealogy site, unknowingly helping detectives narrow their search, which ultimately led to Downing's arrest and closure to the victims. Police know of at least 3 women who were raped.
Custodial sexual misconduct. The victim at the time was a Washington State University student. Late March, she was partying and drinking on WSU's Greek Row. That's when Sergeant Hargraves found her and brought her back to her residence hall. When the victim left her dorm room, a WSU police officer found her and told her to go back inside. When the victim left her room a 3rd time, Hargraves heard her name over the radio and found her. According to court documents, the victim was crying in the back of Sergeant Hargraves' car, explaining her dad was strict and she didn't want to go to jail. Hargraves reportedly asked what she was willing to do, and she responded she could pay him money. That's when Hargraves stopped the car. According to court documents, cell phone data shows that Sergeant Hargraves brought the WSU student to the Rainy Park area. This is where he reportedly assaulted her. Hargraves has been working for Pullman Police for the past 19 years, building relationships and trust throughout the community. This incident shattering that. Now his co-workers are working to rebuild those relationships.
The alleged criminal misconduct is completely unacceptable behavior for a Pullman police officer.
dead in his fraternity house early this morning. Pullman police say they responded to an unresponsive person at the Pi Kappa Phi fraternity shortly after midnight. KXLY4's Caroline Rourke is working for you. She joins us now live from Pullman with the latest. Caroline?
Derek, that student has been identified as 21-year-old Brock Lindbergh of Wenatchee, Washington. He's a junior here at Washington State, and he's a member of that Pi Kappa Phi fraternity. The WSU community in shock tonight after the loss of one of their own.
It's not something you want to hear on a Monday morning, you know, especially in the middle of semester. It's pretty upsetting.
Brock Lindbergh was found unresponsive in his bedroom just after midnight. Paramedics administered CPR, but Lindbergh was eventually declared dead on scene. Pullman police said there are no signs of violence, so they don't suspect foul play. Commander Chris Tennant said it looked as if Lindbergh had just gone to sleep. The news of their classmates passing has upset the WSU community, many of whom found out through social media.
Nobody wants to see this happen, and obviously there are things we can do to prevent this.
Jake Noonan is a member of Sigma Pi. In the face of tragedy, he says he's confident WSU will come together.
I think the Greek community, let alone the WSU community, is always strong. We're diverse. We come together in times like these.
Just last September, the fraternity was sanctioned for providing alcohol to minors. Sigma Phi Epsilon was sanctioned 5 months ago in April for the same thing. Both frats were made to take training to create an action plan to avoid future violations.
Hazing goes with Greek life like all the time.
That was a student's initial reaction after hearing that a fraternity on her campus had been suspended for hazing. Phi Delta Theta at Eastern Washington University allegedly forced 18 of their pledges to drink over 13 cases of beer in under 30 minutes, at least 2 times during the pledge process. University investigators say they required pledges to memorize and recite both the Greek alphabet and the frat's history while being physically threatened. If the pledge couldn't, they'd have to do an exercise called wall sits, with their backs against the wall in sitting positions for long periods of time. Pledges also had to go to unsafe areas with their vision impaired. Many students at EWU hadn't even heard about this, but agree with discipline from the university.
Hazing should be accepted or allowed, so I think they should be punished for it.
It's like, you know, breaking rules or hurting other kids or putting other kids in danger, then it's definitely something that needs to be taken care of.
The fraternity admitted that their actions violated the EWU Student Conduct Code on January 11th. Now that their hazing has been exposed, the fraternity is being forced to make a few changes. EWU will no longer recognize Pi Delta Theta until the end of its spring quarter. All members will have to complete drug and alcohol training by the end of March. The fraternity will also be required to send in a new pledge member education program to the university before the quarter ends. In addition to all of this, the frat is also on probation for a full year after the spring quarter. They won't be allowed to host or attend any parties or events with alcohol.
It doesn't happen anymore.
Organizations founded on being exclusionary can never be inclusive.
The sorority that I was formerly a part of, horrifically hazed, lots of abuse.
Several sororities got shut down during recruitment because of hazing practices.
You're telling me that I could pay money to a historically racist organization so that I can be found naked on the front lawn of a frat house?
This is unbelievable. At my school, my friend rushed a sorority in one of their hazing things where they had to strip down naked. This is a common thing. Sit on a piece of newspaper on top of a running washer and watch lesbian porn. If there was anything on the newspaper after, you got dropped.
As we know, a lot of these sororities and fraternities are deeply embedded in racism, classism, and white supremacy. In fact, it's the reason why African Americans had to create the Divine Nine, all of the black sororities and fraternities.
No smiling. We were never allowed to smile. We also were not allowed to tell sisters no if they told us to do something. That none of these rules were in place to keep us safe. They were all in place to manipulate us, control us, and just have total power over us.
Rumor had it that many girls got herpes as a result. Another one forced girls so drunk, so much alcohol that a handful got alcohol poisoning, had to be sent to the hospital. So choose between either doing hard drugs or hooking up with somebody that you don't even know.
And the incidence of sexual assault is insane in Greek life. One time in chapter, we did an activity where you had to stand if either you or someone you knew had ever been sexually assaulted. There were 180 people in that room and every single person stood up.
This involves, again, women stripping down naked for a hockey team and entertaining them and the hockey team has to approve of the new pledges.
Pledges were also not allowed to sit on couches or chairs. We had to sit on the floor because we were literally and physically beneath them.
Bonding through excruciating experiences, it's almost like trauma bonding.
I had to literally hire a lawyer because my sorority tried to scam me. We had a chapter meeting where they said, if you plan on studying abroad, don't sign a full lease, sign a half lease. Perfect, beautiful, gorgeous. Fast forward, I'm studying abroad. I'm thinking all is well when I get hit with a $3,000 fine from my sorority. And at my university, the sorority is allowed to bill your university bill. What this means is that if I don't pay my sorority charge, I'm not allowed to sign up for classes.
Yes, the slideshow thing is absolutely real. They literally show pictures of these girls like it's Tinder, and they stand up and say, I don't like this girl because of this, and if some girl stands up and doesn't like you, you are out.
We would rip girls apart with those slides. It was inherently sexist. We slut-shamed a lot of people. There was even a code word for it, well-traveled, so that way we could say it without nationals getting upset.
I don't care what people say, it is totally determined by looks. Yes, you could meet a girl and really vibe with her, but they are looking for pretty girls that will make their chapter look good.
I just saw a TikTok comment that was like, well, if your whole sorority went to a plantation party, what are you going to do, not go? Yes, I'm not going to go.
There are plenty of organizations that have it written in their statutes that Black people weren't able to join, that anyone non-white was not able to join.
I felt like a lot of the girls were just not seeing me because I wasn't white.
I vividly remember being in a rush meeting and seeing every single woman of color be called aggressive.
You know when you can just tell that they're not interested in you and they didn't really care about what you had to say? That's kind of how I felt.
So I guess my question is, why choose a white one? For me, I would feel extremely unsafe, especially if I was living in the sorority house. We hear horror stories all the time about Black girls being racially attacked by their white roommates and so on.
I felt like I was trying to prove my whiteness to them versus some girl who's from the middle of nowhere. They had no problem giving their time of day.
I used to live in the house, which is decorated with all of the composites since its founding. And in the almost 30 years, there has not been a single member of color at all.
Greek is inherently classes because it costs so much money to be a part of it. Dues are expensive.
Dues when you don't live in the house are like $700, which is also like, what the f*** you're paying for friends?
They only exist so that rich people can network more efficiently.
As a result, you don't see a lot of economic diversity in Pan-Hellenic or IFC organizations.
I don't give a flying f*** if your sorority was the best thing that happened to you. Reading these types of stories, hearing this type of shit, there is a clear problem.
Heights following a tense SWAT standoff ended in arrest last night. The incident began with a reported burglary. According to the Airway Heights Police Department, 37-year-old Rudy G. Parsons and his 15-year-old son wanted for a burglary that happened at a business on South Garfield Road. Parsons ran away before police could arrive. Now, just minutes later, officers were told Parsons may be at a home on South Lawson Street armed with a rifle. The Spokane County Sheriff's Office SWAT team and other resources called out to help. After several hours, SWAT team was able to get inside the home, but they couldn't find Parsons. The officers did find and arrest his 15-year-old son at the scene. That teen has been booked into the Spokane County Juvenile Detention Center. Anyone with information regarding Parsons' whereabouts is asked to call Crime Check at 509-456-2233, and we have the case reference number up on our website.
1972, a boy from Moscow and his mom were searching for agates in the Wawai Canyon just 10 miles south of Pullman. They stumbled across a piece of carpet and inside found what they believed to be human remains. After notifying the police, Whitman County sent the remains to Washington, D.C., where they identified the body as Joyce LePage.
Some of her remains get sent off to the FBI crime lab in Quantico. They determined that there's at least puncture wounds to the ribs that they have that they can look at. And so exact and precise cause and manner of death, and where and how, those are all still kind of not 100%.
The missing persons case was then a homicide case.
At that point, authorities are able to actually put together a pretty good timeline, because we also know that the carpet is missing probably sometime between the 22nd and 23rd. Joyce LePage ends up in that carpet, rolled up and in that canyon. And so they're able to then start working that case.
Stevens Hall during the summer of 1971 was under construction. The piece of missing carpet that had been reported turned out to be the same one Joyce was found in. Investigators found that Joyce liked to go into Stevens Hall to play the piano during the construction. They also found that Joyce could have been staying in Stevens some nights and sneaking in. It is unsure whether Joyce was murdered in Stevens Hall or taken elsewhere since there was no blood found inside the dorm. Stevens Hall is still here today, making it the second oldest building on campus. In 1978, it was placed on a National Register of Historic Places. Although the dorm is still here, it has been closed due to staffing shortages and lack of enrollment.
Some breaking news just minutes ago. The Whitman County coroner has released former WSU safety Bryce Beekman's cause of death. They say Beekman died due to the combined effects of fentanyl and promethazine in his system. His death, they ruled, was accidental. Beekman passed away in his home back on March 23rd. He was slated to make a major impact on the Cougs defense this year after starting in all 13 games last year.
Cases and looking into it, and just said, is there any way to see if there's any DNA possibilities? And so we identified a few pieces of clothing and some other material that we could reasonably hope to find DNA on.
After sending the items to the lab, they were unable to find other DNA. They followed up on initial leads and began to re-interview suspects. After a lack of evidence, the case ever since has remained unsolved, but both Bruce and Sheriff Myers look over the case often. Exactly 50 years after Joyce was killed, another murder shocked the Pullman and Moscow community, the quadruple homicide near the University of Idaho in 2022. Bruce has followed this case and often compares the differences between this and his sister's. He looks at how different the times are and how the University of Idaho case was able to gather evidence so quickly.
The comparison of the detectives' capabilities now compared to then, because now they're being, anybody wants to use a cell phone, they're being pinged at. You don't know where all the cameras are sitting, in people's houses or at businesses, that sort of thing.
Although the case is 50 years old, it does remain opened, and Sheriff Myers hopes to bring that justice to Bruce and his family.
And I would love to see this case come to close and with an arrest and some answers for the family, especially for Bruce.
Football. Police say Washington State quarterback Tyler Helinski is dead after apparently shooting himself in the head. The 21-year-old was discovered in his apartment after he didn't show up for practice on Tuesday. A rifle was recovered next to his body, and a suicide note was also found. In a statement, his coach called the quarterback an incredible young man and says the entire Washington State community is in mourning.